Hey there, Nick Chatakis here. In this video, we're going to go over how to trace a Docker image's Dockerfile, and that could be really helpful for debugging scenarios where, let's say an image that you're using has been working great, but then maybe today or sometime in the future, it starts to fail in semi-unexpected ways. Like maybe you're starting to get a new version of something and you're not sure why. So throughout this video, we're going to be tracing this Composer official image here on the Docker Hub. This is not specific to this image. You can replace this with anything that you want. I'm just happened to pick this one because it came up at work recently. And yeah, we're going to go over a use case around this one. And so the scenario here basically is a developer created their own pipeline file, right, in some repository, and they happen to be using Composer. And the way Composer was defined in that pipeline file was Composer:2. So basically it was just pulling the latest version of Composer 2 every time that pipeline ran. And I'm sure maybe, as you know, you can define Docker images in a couple of different ways, right? For example, you can just do something like Composer, and that's going to get the latest version of that image. You can also do Composer:latest to be more explicit on that, or you can do something like :2 to get the latest version of 2, or you can do 2.8 to get the latest version of 2.8, or you can even go down to the patch version here of something like 2.85. And this is the strategy I would recommend. At the very least, pinning it down to the patch version will produce the least surprises. I've actually done videos, or I don't think I did a video about this one because it was posted like 7 years ago. But yeah, pinning your Docker images down to the latest patch version is a really good idea. I actually did a video not too long ago around even going one step further and adding image digest to your images here, such as this. So this allows you to even have immutable builds on tags that may change. But yeah, I don't want to get too off topic there. You can check those out on your discretion here. But in any case, the scenario was the pipeline started to fail because it was pulling in version PHP 8.4. And that happened to be released a couple of months ago, I think in November 2024. And our project happens to be using PHP 8.3. And, it's kind of interesting to see like the problem only surfaced 2 months later, just because that library that was being pushed to, that package repository doesn't really get updated that frequently. Weirdly enough, funny aside, I also prefer running scheduled pipelines like on a daily basis. I've done videos about that one in the past. There's a lot of value in there to have your stuff break when something actually changes, independently of how often the repo gets pushed to. But okay, let's go back to the focus of this video here in how I helped resolve that issue there. So I took a look at the pipeline file and I noticed that it was defined as Composer:2. So what I did here, first of all, I'm not super familiar with this official image here. The other images that we use at the org they're not this one. It's just a different PHP image or a Python one, etc., etc. But, I started by just going to the tag that was defined, in this case 2, and just clicking that to open that up, because you'll notice on most of the Docker images on the Docker Hub, the official ones, there is like links to the Dockerfile here in the README file for specific tags. So from here, now you can just start tracing this Dockerfile and taking a look at what's happening here. So the first thing I did was kind of just skim through the file here, looking for a specific PHP version. Now I see the version of Composer here, but if you scroll down here, we're not going to go over line by line in super detail, but yeah, there's no version of PHP that's actually defined in this Docker file. So now the tracing begins. So it's like, okay, well, just by using standard practices with Docker, we can take a look here at the from line, because this image itself, this Docker file, is being based off of this image here. So this is the PHP 8 Alpine image that's being used. So, okay, cool. What we could do now is just do a search for, on the Docker Hub for PHP. We can see this here. And then we can go and take a look at tags. And let's say the tag was 8-Alpine. So then we can just go to tags here for PHP and do a search for 8-Alpine. And then hopefully we'll find a tag here. Yeah, this is the one that we want. Okay, cool. So we can just click that tag. And that is going to lead to over here. And then we can say like, okay, well, is there a version of PHP defined here? So you can see that there is a version of PHP defined here, and take a look at it. It's version 8.43. Now, of course, by the time that you watch this video, if you were to click around these links here, PHP 8, there might be a newer version out. But, just for, this point in time, this is, where I started to see like, okay, cool. So this CI pipeline was ran with Composer:2. That's using this version of PHP 8-Alpine, which happens to have version 8.4 there. So then, now the scenario is like, well, how do we get an older version of PHP? For example, let's say you want to use version 8.3. So the nice thing about that is it's not too crazy. So what we could do is just lock in the Composer image to something more specific. So if we go back to the Docker Hub here for Composer, and if we take a look here at, version, let's say 8.25 or whatever, All those links go to the same spot here, but yep, that's the version here. What we could do though is just change this and go back in time to something a little bit less. In fact, actually, we can do it even better. So another way to do this one is going to tags. It's a little bit faster in my opinion. And we can start looking here to be, well, like, okay, so we know version 2.85 has version PHP version 8.4, right? So what we could do is just do a search for 2.84. So let's go back one version for Composer here, open that one up in a new tab, take a look at this. By the way, I should point out that, it's a little bit zoomed in for the video, so it's hard to see. These are different layers here. So in this case, we actually care about this layer for PHP, so we're going to expand that one. And then take a look here, and we'll look at the version of PHP. Looks like that's still a version 8.34. Okay, cool. So let's go to version 2.83, and then we'll open this one up in a new tab here. And then we'll go to this layer for PHP. And then we can see PHP version is 8.41. So now it's getting lower as we reduce the Composer version, which is, kind of what we expect, right? Because as new versions of Composer come out, it's building the new version of PHP 8. It's getting the latest version. As we go back in time, it's getting a lower version. So now let's go to 2.82 and then open this one up in a new tab here. And we'll take a look and see what happens. So now we're going to go back to this PHP label here. And here we can see that this version of Composer is using PHP 8.3. So we can say basically, if you want to use the latest Composer version that happens to be using PHP 8.3, then we can just start to reference 2.82. So instead of that pipeline file having Composer :2, it can have Composer :2.8.2. And then, after that push occurred, then the pipeline ran successfully. We got that version of PHP and everything is good to go. But of course, this is specific to Composer, but the same exact patterns can be used for other Docker images here too. You can basically just go and check them out, see what's happening there. And I think Docker Hub's UI is really nice for exploring these things very quickly. So shout out to Docker to making that possible there. But yeah, with that said, let us know in the comments below if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer all of them, or maybe you have some use cases on how you trace things maybe more efficiently or in different ways. It's always good to see how different folks do different things. With that said, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help a lot. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.